Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of NEWSWAVE, written, produced and recorded in the heart of Cornwall by the team here at Chaos Radio. I'm your host, Tom Howe, and I'll be guiding you through some of the insightful guests and exciting news content that we've enjoyed across Chaos Radio this past week. On today's show, we join Kylie Williams from our wider team here at Chaos to learn more about Kernow Community Gateway, a brilliant free helpline helping people stay well with everything from a friendly chat to practical support. We check in with Cornwall's new High Sheriff, Geraint Richards, to learn more about his plans for his year in the role and what he hopes to achieve for the Duchy. As well as that, we take a trip to the Market House in St Austell to meet Ben Varnell, a local barber using his skills to give back to the community, offering affordable, judgment-free cuts through his pop-up barbershop. If all that wasn't enough, we hear from Ben Bowden of Ben Bowden and the Pards, who shares more about his recent collaboration with Cornish boxing champ Brad Pauls and gives us an exclusive first listen to his new track. And we welcome Tom Michelle, who shares the incredible true story behind the Penguin Lessons, a heartwarming rescue that's now a major film starring Steve Coogan.
NEWSWAVE.
Now, Kernow Community Gateway is a fantastic free service to help you and your loved ones keep healthy and well. From a chat to practical help to prevent hospital admissions, mental health support, community activities, hot food and warm spaces, this free helpline can connect you to a range of support services in your local community. Here to explore their work and impact is the Chaos Group's Kylie Williams, a Kernow Gateway locality team lead for the West, who is also a hospital and home coordinator too.
NEWSWAVE.
The Community Gateway, we're going to go in a nutshell because otherwise we'll be here for a long time. In a nutshell, the first point of contact is a phone line. So we're open 8 till 8 every day of the week, 365 days a year. And people can call in, so it can either be professionals or it can be, members of the public calling about themselves or loved ones or neighbours that they're concerned about. And we are basically in the gateway to services within Cornwall. So there are 7 core partners that work on the gateway, and then that opens up to, I think the last count was 50 plus organisations throughout Cornwall that we're linked in with. And we are accessing support for these people for either warmth hubs, meals, support at home, information and advice about services available to help them specific health conditions, community support. Some people, especially in rural Cornwall, are quite isolated. They want to know what's out there in the community, how they can get there, and what support they can access at home if maybe they're not able to leave their house. We've noticed the last few weeks that we are getting a lot more phone calls on the gateway. So that says to us, obviously we haven't looked at the figures, we do that on a monthly basis, but that would say to me that that's more members of the public coming through. We kind of see different patterns throughout time of year in regards to referrals, but we have seen a lot recently for people that are struggling with the cost of living. And that's for all ages, because obviously through Gateway we're aware of what funding that might be available for people, so we can link them in with services to either help them budget, look at their outgoings, see what bills can be reduced, help access support with debt, and if they are eligible for any funding, then we can help them through that process as well.
I think it's really important that we've talked about the services that you provide, but what about the people that you provide it for, and how can they get in touch with you?
Yes, so the Kernow Gateway is open to anyone from the age of 18 plus. Obviously, we do have some knowledge about support that's out there for children, but it might come in, the mum or dad has come in and they're needing access support for themselves. And during the guided conversation that we have, it's like, actually, my children are struggling. Here you go, that you can link them in with these services. So the best way, there's 2 ways that you can contact us really, and it's either via phone, which is 01872 266 383, or via email, which I believe is welcome@kernowgateway.org.uk. And we aim to come back to people within 72 hours. Our phone line can be very busy during the day, so please do leave a voicemail and we will call you back.
And it's a free service as well.
Free, entirely free.
What can you get these days for free?
Entirely free. And so within the gateway, obviously you start off by having that conversation with the member of staff, and then it will open up to lots of services. So, if there's not something that they can link you in with themselves over the phone, we've got outreach workers that can come out and see people at home. We've got Inclusion Matters coaches who can come out and help tackle loneliness and isolation. There's lots that we can do, but it's just making that phone call and having that initial guided conversation.
What advice have you got for people? They're at the very start of their journey at this. They don't know where to go. They're hearing about this for the first time, but they're a little bit nervous about speaking to people or opening up.
So we have a team of staff that answer the phones, and it is a mixture of AGK staff and Chaos staff. They are the most kindest, empathetic people, and they do this job because they genuinely want to help people. And it can be frustrating. We understand that when you call up sometimes and it might be engaged, you've got to leave a message. If you're not happy to leave a message, then just send an email. We have a text service, so if you send us your mobile number, we can text you and communicate that way. And it's just finding the best way that you're happy to communicate, and we're happy to adapt to whatever's best suited for you.
So a person can contact you directly if they want support. Maybe a family member could contact on behalf of somebody that's struggling. Yeah,
or, if you've got like a support worker or your GP, they can make a referral on your behalf. Yeah, there's many ways to get in touch.
Perfect. And what are some of the outcomes that you see from these conversations? There's so many benefits, isn't there?
Yeah, so we have, so at Chaos, our outreach worker, our Kernow outreach worker is called Gemma. And Gemma covers mid Cornwall, and she will get a referral to go out and say, I don't know, for example, this person needs support to declutter their home. And actually, when she gets out there, she can see that they're struggling in loads of different areas. And she's had some absolutely brilliant outcomes with, in regards, she's going there for one thing and coming out, and she's actually, helped this person apply for a benefit. So now this person can afford a cleaner. So that's increased their self-worth and their well-being. She's linked them in with things in the community, getting them out with companionship clubs or going on trips.
How's it funded? How does it work behind the scenes? How can we ensure that this continues for a long time to come and grows if it needs to as well, as services more required?
Yeah, so when the Gateway started, I think it was only initially a 6-month pilot, but within 3 months it was very clear that it was a much needed service. I think on average we get 1,000 phone calls a month, and that's going up, and that's not also including referrals from adult social care or via Strata or email referrals. So that's just 1,000 calls roughly, with all of that on top. Now, we do have some lovely people on the phone line, and I think a lot of people think that there's 100 people sat in a call office. I think there's between AGK and Chaos, there's about 12 people on that phone. So yeah, obviously we've got the phone line staff, and then we've got the team of people that are out there doing the work out in people's homes, and all working together. It's for the same outcome. We just want to help people in the community to thrive. It is a busy service, but we've got the 72-hour window, and we are just about managing to stay through that. But please use the service, because the more it's used, the more funding that will then come. Because at the moment, I believe we're only funded for 5 years.
People might look at issues they're experiencing differently from others, and some might also be completely unaware of support that's out there for them. What experience have you got regarding this?
So, perfect example of this, we had a lady call in, and all she wanted was support to apply for a blue badge. And then when the worker went out to see them, and they discussed things and explored things, actually she needed a lot more support, but she A, didn't realise she needed it, and B, she didn't think that she was eligible for it. And the massive change that from that one meeting that came to her life was immeasurable. Then we have what we call the knowledge bank. So it's all of what I call the little gems that are all across Cornwall. And that knowledge bank is forever growing. There are projects, organisations, events, things that are going on that it's our job to know about and link people in with. So I speak to people quite a few times on the phone and they're like, oh, there's nothing going on in my community. And I'm like, actually, there's quite a lot.
This is a great introduction into the work of the Community Gateway and the services you provide, who it's for, and the different things that you can do to support people. I just want to end on just reminding our listeners where they can find out more information, and as well as that, how they might be able to support you too if they're in a position to do so.
So you can find more information about the Kernow Gateway on the Cornwall VSF website. And like I said earlier, you can get in touch by calling 01872 266 383 and also welcome@kernowgateway.org.uk. And if people would like to get involved, or they have some spare time or specialist skills that maybe they've had from previous jobs, etc., then please do get in touch, because like I said, we've got lots of different projects and teams supporting people with different needs, and it might be that you have a skill set that you could volunteer for one of those teams, or help is needed.
Kylie, it's been a pleasure welcoming you here to Chaos Radio. You and the team are making an incredible impact and helping reduce the pressure on things like emergency departments, which are already very busy. Before you go, is there anything you'd like to add, or anything we haven't covered that you think is important for people to hear?
So I will just talk about Workwell. So Cornwall on the Isles of Scilly is one of 13, I want to say 13, but I could be wrong, pilot areas piloting Workwell. And it has been funded by DWP and the Department of Health and Social Care, and it is set up to support people that are in work or have just come out of work and are struggling with a health condition or long-term disability. And we provide over-the-phone support to these people to try and help them stay in work or get in work. And that can literally be any health condition, and they can offer various types of support. So you can always call in for that as well.
NEWSWAVE.
Thank you to the Chaos Group's Kylie Williams. Remember, you can contact Kernow Community Gateway 7 days a week from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. Just call 01872 266 383 or email welcome@kernowgateway.org.uk. Now, did you know that the role of High Sheriff is the oldest royal appointment in England and Wales and dates all the way back to Saxon times? Each county has an appointed High Sheriff, with the position in Cornwall granted by His Royal Highness the Duke of Cornwall. Our current High Sheriff is a Mr. Geraint Richards, who took up the role on Sunday, March 23rd, following on from his predecessor, Mr. Sam Galsworthy. One of his first tasks in office was to visit Chaos Radio's Camille Studios and be grilled by myself. I began by asking, who exactly is Geraint Richards?
NEWSWAVE.
It's lovely to be here and to be introduced to everything that Chaos is doing. Amazing. Can't wait to learn more over the year ahead. So, Geraint Richards, and I'm the head forester for the Duchy of Cornwall and to His Majesty the King. So the Geraint is a Welsh mother, but the Richards is well and truly a Cornish father, and the family go back a long way down here. But actually, my dad's work took him up country, so I grew up in the Buckinghamshire, in the Chiltern Hills, but this was always a sense of home. And I came back down 29 years ago to take on this role with the Duchy, managing trees and woodlands in Cornwall. The job has changed enormously over that time to become a much bigger role. But no, my heart's still in the woods, if that makes sense.
And what can you tell me about your upbringing, your education, and your journey in Cornwall?
Yeah, so the upbringing, I'd say I grew up for the most part in Buckinghamshire, but it walking actually the woodlands of the Chiltern Hills that inspired me to be a forester. But we had so many family down here, so we were always down and coming down and visiting aunts and uncles and cousins and everyone, and it was just this longing to come back down. Went to university, Bangor University in North Wales, which is one of the few places where you could study a degree in forestry. I did that. And then I did 4 years working for the Forestry Commission.
What does a normal day look like for you?
There is no normal day. No, even without this current role, which I'm sure we'll come on to, there is no normal day. So today I literally do rove from the Isles of Scilly occasionally with Duchy work up to the Castle of May, which is a property on the coast of Caithness near John O'Groats, looking over to Orkney. I go to Wales, I go to Norfolk. So it really is a lot of time running around between the Duchy of Cornwall, the Duchy of Lancaster and other properties. So, it's a combination of sort of overseeing the management of trees and woodlands on all those various estates, but also working for most of my career when the King was Duke of Cornwall. And he was obviously incredibly, had a long time doing that role and was very active in that role. And so I was drawn into all sorts of organisations and initiatives that he was piloting, and I'm still involved in a huge number of them, which take a considerable amount of time as well. So,
when did the role of High Sheriff come onto your radar, Geraint?
Yeah, a few years ago, someone sort of mentioned it to me, and this is not anything I thought I'd ever be asked to do, but I wasn't going to turn it down because it's a great honour to start with. It's a great honour. Feel totally unworthy and undeserving, but it's a great honour. I want to serve our duchy. I want to serve Cornwall. I've spent a lot of time serving my sort of wider forestry sector in various roles, but this is a great chance to serve Cornwall. And I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in. My declaration was only a week ago, yesterday, Sunday the 23rd at Restormal. So I'm only 1 week in, but I hope I'm already packing it in. I've got a hard act to follow in Sam, but we're very good friends, and he's been. I will just put it on record. He's been great in sort of advising me as I enter into the role.
It is such an incredible role, isn't it? Spanning back more than 1,000 years as well, isn't it? Do you feel sort of the weight of pressure and pride as well at the same time?
Well, I'm glad I'm not back in those old days when you had to raise an army and do that sort of thing. But no, there is a weight of pressure. I think because it's an honorary role. So in one sense, you say what power do you really have? It's obviously changed over time. But there is a power, everyone keeps telling me that, there is the power of saying thank you to many of the unsung heroes in our society. There's a power of shining a light on some of the amazing things. There's a power in convening and just trying to solve a few problems in your year. And I think to me, everyone says the year will just fly by. So, I want to hit the ground running. I hope I have done, and just try and make a bit of a difference. Hopefully, put a smile on people's faces and leave the year like my predecessors have done, making maybe the place a little bit better thanks to everyone's efforts.
What are we going to be reflecting on, perhaps in a year's time?
Well, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you start on the journey, you have ideas, but then I'm just already meeting such an extraordinary number of people, and I'll be very honest, very moving as well, very moving indeed, actually, some of the things I've already witnessed. So, there is all the things you are meant to do in this role. So there's supporting the police and the blue light services, the judiciary, visiting the prisons. I've got those in the diary, and supporting probation services. I've got those meetings. So obviously that's the sort of central theme of the High Sheriff's role. But beyond that, it's really, shining a light on anything that makes the place where you're operating, a better place, and hopefully, stops people entering the criminal justice system or helps them if they have been in it. I mean, one key theme has been this whole idea of access to nature. I'm a forester at the end of the day. I love nature. I love the outdoors, and I would really like to connect with and shine a light on some of the extraordinary things that are happening in Cornwall around that. So, I mean, we've been chatting upstairs, and Tom, and we've already got so many mutual connections. I've been throwing names out. I know them, sort of, and meetings I've had. Badger, Forest School, Holder Communities, etc. Growing Links. I could go on. So, I really want to shine a light on these and see if we can maybe find any gaps that we could help fill in this year, because it's so important. All the evidence is there of the benefits of access to nature for physical health and well-being, mental health and well-being, children for learning. Green infrastructure makes urban areas safer, happier places to live. Less air conditioning needed if you've got the shading effects of trees, so that's saving. I mean, I could go on. You should tell me I'm going to get going in a minute. But we've got all this evidence, so let's try and sort of put it into practice. And Yeah, I kind of want to see it as the norm rather than the exception. We shouldn't be surprised when we find these things. It should be sort of what's happening every day, and everyone should be able to experience this.
I want to hear from you the authentic Cornwall. What does the authentic Cornwall look from you? Because we often, when we go out of county, we hear a vision of Cornwall that isn't necessarily incorrect, but sometimes isn't addressing the real Cornwall underneath the skin of things. What does Cornwall look like to you?
Well, again, that's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, sometimes you could argue it's a place of two halves. You know, there is clearly a big divide between certain communities where there's a lot of wealth being invested, and some very tough areas. You know, running particularly down the spine of Cornwall, and I don't think most people who come visiting ever see that, and would probably not believe you if you told them what was happening. So that, you know, sometimes it feels like it's, you know, a place of two halves. But, you know, something I've really witnessed, there is a consistency, and that's in the people. It's just tremendous people. So many people wanting to make the place better. And we keep quoting this statistic that I will find the source for it one day. But, you know, Cornwall has this higher than average volunteering sector. There is this sense of, you know, of one and all Cornwall. We'll you know, we will make it work ourselves if no one else is going to lend us a hand. So, but it is beautiful as well. There is beauty everywhere. I know people will flock to the fantastic coastline, but you know, there is, you know, you can drive down that middle spine this time of year, and the hedgerows are absolutely full of bluebells and primroses and all the things I adore. You know, the leaves all coming out on the oak trees. You know, it is inland, coastal. It is scenically beautiful, and we must remember that it's not just all about one or two places that lots of people have discovered.
And it sounds like from your first week in office, if you like, you've been quite busy. You don't sound like you're one not to get stuck in. What might be on your radar?
Yeah, I think my family would tell you when I told them I was doing it, there was a sort of look of, I hope, pride, but also resignation, because they know what I'm like. And I hope I am someone, yeah, I mean, it sounds a bit grand, it doesn't mean, but I hope I am someone who sees the opportunity to get stuck in. So, yeah, no, we've already managed last week to go and visit, Bowden Police Station, get down to Penzance and have a look around some of the charities that are operating down there. And this morning I've been out on a 7 o'clock, I was at Newquay Harbour. I wanted to know a bit about the future of fishing, and there's a wonderful father and son I've been out on a boat with for a couple of hours down there. And tomorrow is, I suppose, sort of high sheriff. I'm speaking at the first Cornwall Woodland Conference. A few other things happening this week in the Bodmin area, and then Saturday I'll be up at the Cornwall Spring Garden Show, up at the Royal Cornwall Showground, and I'm back up there for something else on Sunday as well. So, yeah, it's full on. It's only a year. Got to make the most of it.
It's very exciting, and as I said to you before we turned the microphones on, at least you've still got a smile on your face. You've got through the first week with a smile on your face, which is a good sign. Yeah,
no, still smiling. Excited, daunted, excited. Just want to get as much in as possible. I mean, don't get me wrong, for all I want to do, it is an extraordinary honour. It's a chance for me to see Cornwall, you know, places I would never normally visit, people I would never normally meet. It's going to be an extraordinary opportunity. But, you know, I'm really glad I've come here on sort of, you know, day 8, is it? So that, because I think there's, you know, we've already found there's a great mutual connection, and I'm really looking forward to you know, hooking up with you, the team here, and keeping this sort of conversation going over the next 12 months.
Oh, I appreciate that. And we do look forward to that. A year it will be gone before you know it.
Yeah, everyone says that. Everyone says it flies by, and I know it does. I mean, you know, the older you get and the busier you are, I mean, time does fly by, and this is going to be a very busy year. But yeah, let's see how I'm looking in a year's time. Yeah, haggard, frazzled. No, I'm sure smile will still be on the face.
While you've got the platform to do so, are there any sort of closing remarks or pieces of information you'd like to get across, or anything that we haven't covered that you think is really important for people to hear?
No, I think Cornwall is full of surprises. I mean, and this is a surprise to me coming here today. So that kind of makes my point. I am every day just coming across extraordinary things that are happening in Cornwall that I didn't know about, and maybe people out there don't know about. So, you know, let's work and get the word out. I mean, you know, there's a lot of, we said this earlier, there's a lot of bad news, and you could get very, very depressed. And it is bad news, and there is a lot to be sad about. Let's not pretend we're not in any way painting over that. But, I'm already seeing there are some extraordinarily positive initiatives, organisations, and particularly people who are making a huge difference, and just want to, with you, get out there and shine a light on them, and hopefully, encourage them in their work and make it grow.
How can people reach you? If maybe they've got a story they want to tell you, or maybe they have a similar way of thinking, maybe they want to follow your journey throughout the year, how can they keep up to date with you and get in touch?
Well, there's a High Sheriff email, which I should know, but I don't, because it's but we can put that in later. I'll give you a card and you can announce it. It's only day 8, give me time.
You're doing well.
But we are doing. There is an Instagram that was set up a few years ago, and we are trying to be quite active on that. So just a few lines about where I am and what I've been doing. But it'd be great to increase following. So go on High Sheriff of Cornwall on Instagram. And see what we're up to. And if there's something you think, I won't make promises because it's a pretty full on year, but we are always open to suggestions of things that should be visited, given everything I've said. And I'm going to be travelling around, and if there's something else to fit in, I'll do my utmost to fit it in.
NewsWave.
Our thanks to Geraint Richards, the new High Sheriff of Cornwall. We wish him all the best for his tenure, and no doubt we'll be hearing far more from Geraint himself throughout the year here on Chaos Radio. Right, I'm Tom Howe, and you're listening to NewsWave on Chaos Radio. Now we're heading to the heart of St Austell to meet someone using their craft to make a real difference in the community. Ben Varnell is a barber who not only offers top quality cuts at Vault on Trinity Street, but also a £4 pop-up barbershop in the Market House under the name False Peacock. It's all about making haircuts more accessible to those on low income without judgment or fuss. I caught up with Ben to hear more about his mission, the inspiration behind it, and the story of how he's giving back to his hometown.
NewsWave.
I grew up in St Austell. I've been barbering here since about 2018. I had a studio on Slades Road that was called False Peacock. Recently, I've been working at Vault on Trinity Street. I still work there full time. I started the £4 pop-up at the Market House recently, basically to make haircuts more accessible to people on low income. Because the going rate for a haircut now, the lowest price you'll pay is £15. So I wanted to have something that was available, a more basic service at a price point that was a quarter of the current market price for a haircut.
So you've grown up in the area, you're aware of the issues being faced here as well in terms of homelessness, unemployment, in terms of income and different things as well. And what was it in you that inspired you to start this?
Since I've started working in the local area, I've always felt passionate about giving something back to the local area as well, and I've raised money for other projects in the area and local projects and good causes, from food banks to Friends of St Austell Community Hospital. And recently I was looking at something that I could do related to my job that would allow me to give something back to the local area and make it just that little bit better.
Amazing. So what's the premise then? Because often there's sometimes a little stigma around going somewhere if maybe you don't have the money to be able to afford it, or having certain associated conversations. How do people get in touch with you? What situation might they find themselves in?
So that's something I'm exploring at the moment. I've had the project open for a month, and I've had some people through the doors, and a lot of that's been word of mouth. I've made some social media posts, and they've been really divisive in getting people through the door. And now what I'm looking at is the barrier to entry. What's stopping people coming to get a haircut? Maybe they don't understand the project. Somebody gave me a piece of feedback recently, and they sort of said, oh, well, I thought it was just for people that don't have any money. And or that it was a lower quality product. You're getting a worse haircut. It is a budget offering here, and the haircuts are shorter, but I carry them out to the same standards that I would in my place of full-time work. One thing I like to think before people come in is people might present as having a lot of money. Everything is getting more expensive. Even if somebody is wearing a Stone Island jacket, you don't know what's in their bank balance. You don't know who's knocking on their door chasing them for money. Especially now, bringing up children, there's lots of people that have children, and if you're paying £15 a pop for a kid's haircut and you've got 2 or 3 kids, that's still a lot of money.
So what's the premise then? £4 haircut. There's the opportunity to pay it forward as well. Tell me about the story here now we're in the salon.
Yeah, the premise is it's £4 for a basic men's haircut. I do have 15 haircuts that have been paid forward by generous members of the local community. I'm here on Monday from 11 until 5. It's a walk-in service. Even if you don't have the money, come along and you can get a haircut.
So you've had an incredible response then, I imagine, from the community who have been able to pay forward those extra 15 haircuts for people that might be in a worse sort of situation than themselves.
People want to do things for other people. And you see that a lot with charitable giving. If people believe in your cause, then they're willing to support it. And people, even if they've got loads of money themselves, I found that they want to help other people. And I think that's just in human nature. The first month, I'd consider it a success. I ran out about a £13 loss. The point of the project is to do something good, but also cover my costs here in the unit. And, what if I make some money from my weekly shop? Like that's, it's doing good. And I get something back from it, and the community gets something back from it.
How many people roughly have you seen come through those doors? And are you starting to get regulars now coming back through? Now you've been here more than a month.
So yeah, a couple of regulars are coming through now. Every week you don't know how it's going to go. And I remember when I started my business in 2020 on Slades Road, I would sit there for from 9 until 5 every day, and as you get busier, and now I'm busier in where I work in Vault, like it's a constant stream of people, and it's taken me back to those first, when a business starts and you don't know whether it's going to work, but as long as you show up and you keep reminding people that you're there and you're offering them something that they need.
It is such a vital service, isn't it? Quite often you'll think if somebody's homeless, you'll think, well, they don't have a roof over their head. Well, actually, who's going to be cutting their hair as well? Who's going to be looking after them? All these things that almost come second nature to kind of those kind of things. But there's such sometimes a big thing for people to think about, especially if they're on low income as well. It's probably nearer the end of their concern. So to be able to give them a safe place where they're able to go and to not spend a huge amount of money as well, and probably to have a discussion with someone who appreciates where they're coming from as well.
I've had people come through already that are street homeless or they're sleeping on couches. So I've seen a lot of visuals. I've seen a lot of videos on socials where barbers pop up and they'll just pull out a chair and give them a haircut on the street. And I think, it's a nice gesture, but what makes this project different is it's somewhere private that you can come and get a haircut, and there's none of that being in front of everybody. Obviously, people are grateful and receptive, but that's what differentiates this project. And also, if you want to pay £4, that's a completely fair price, and hopefully that's affordable to everybody. And if you aren't able to pay, then you can come in and there's no judgment.
Brilliant. Where are you? For people that are listening that might want to take advantage of some of these services or use them, or maybe come in with a donation, whatever it might be, or to support you in making your journey take the next steps. Where are you based, and where can people find out more information?
The pop-up is in the Market House in St Austell in the town centre, right next to the church, and I'm Unit 10. If you want to reach out to me online, then just head to Instagram, and I'm False Peacock Hair, or on Facebook, the False Peacock £4 Barber pop-up, and on TikTok as well, so quite easy to find.
Where does the False Peacock come from, can I ask?
When I opened my studio on Slades Road in 2020, that was something that was in the back of my head somewhere, and I just went with it.
Love that. Can you just take me through sort of the setup you've got here as well? What people are going to see when they walk through the doors? Sure.
So the Market House is grade 2 listed. Loads of character. They haven't really changed the original features much. This, from what I've told, maybe somebody will correct me, this unit, it would have been originally one of the police lockups. So maybe it's seen quite a few characters over the years in St Austell. The Market House would have also housed the fire service and the town hall on the other side. So nice high ceilings, and it's if you can't see it, there are photos on my socials, but it's quite quirky.
It's rustic, and you've made it your own.
Rustic, and it has a lot of character. I think before I was in this unit, there was an artist in here, so when I first viewed the unit, because it's all stone, I thought, look at all that mould on the floor. But actually it's green paint, and they've just had like a really good jolly time just flicking paint everywhere, and it's just amazing. If you try to do this, you wouldn't be able to replicate it.
Is it just sort of male haircuts you're doing? Are you doing I'm thinking of families that might be on a low income or facing challenges. Are you doing sort of children's haircuts or female as well?
Yeah, so kids are welcome. I only have a certain amount of haircuts in my repertoire. So if somebody wants to come in and they just want, they have longer hair and they want an inch off, that, that's a haircut that I would do to a male as well. Any shorter styles like pixies, crops, a lot of women have those hairstyles, so absolutely fine. And I have some clients that have those styles as well. So yeah.
And where do you want this to go? What do you want this to become in you've been here for a few months now. Where do you want this to be in a year's time, a couple of years' time?
Well, the pop-up's going to be run for 6 months, and then I'll have the opportunity to assess how I can grow and expand it, whether there's a need for it or a demand. I will be operating the pop-up occasionally on a Saturday as well, so hopefully on those days it'll be a lot more accessible to families and some people that work during the week. I would say that the standards of the haircut, the standard of the haircut that you're going to get here are as high as in my other role, working full-time in a barbershop, and everybody's welcome. It's not just I'm not going to ask you to prove how much money you've got in your bank account. I honestly don't care if it benefits you in any way, or, because you're spending less on a haircut, then more money goes to your kids, or you get to feed your dog. I think that's great.
NEWSWAVE.
Our thanks to Ben Varnell of False Peacock, chatting about his £4 barber pop-up in St Austell's Market House. Open Mondays from 11 till 5 and occasionally on Saturdays too. If you want to visit for a haircut, support the project, pay a haircut forward, or just find out more, head to False Peacock on Instagram, Facebook or TikTok. Now, we all love a good local story, and here's one that packs a punch. Musician and songwriter Ben Bowden, known for fronting cutting-edge Cornish folk punk band Ben Bowden and the Pards, has teamed up with none other than former British middleweight boxing champion Brad Pauls, aka the Newquay Bomb. The result? A powerful new track that fuses Cornish pride, raw energy and a fighting spirit. I'm delighted to say that Ben joined us here on Chaos Radio to tell us more about how the collaboration came about and the work that's gone into the song itself.
NEWSWAVE.
Now, we all love a good local story, don't we? And here's one that packs a punch. Musician and songwriter Ben Bowden, known for fronting cutting-edge Cornish folk punk band Ben Bowden and the Pards, has teamed up with none other than former British middleweight boxing champion Brad Pauls, otherwise known as the Newquay Bomb. The result? A powerful new track that fuses Cornish pride, raw energy and a fighting spirit. And we're delighted to say that Ben joins us now here on Chaos Radio to tell us more about how the collaboration came about and the work that's gone into the song itself. Hi Ben, how are you?
Hi Tom, I'm good. How are you?
Good, yeah, I'm really good, and I'm really excited to talk about this and to give the song a first play as well. But for any of our listeners that might be hearing you for the first time, I know you've been here on Chaos Radio before, but for anyone that might have missed that, can you just tell us a bit about who you are and your journey into music, please?
Well, Tom, yeah, I've played music in various bands in the past, different bits and pieces, but I've sort of come back with this new project. I say new, we're a couple of years old this April actually, but we've got a lot of music influenced by folk, a lot of music influenced by punk, and also a whole lot of Cornish pride sort of thrown into the mix. And you mix that all together, and you get something resembling the music that we play. That's the long and short of it, really.
Amazing. You've spoken then, and I know we've had conversations before about the deep pull, I suppose, that Cornwall has on you. How has that connection to it influenced your songwriting and your sound?
I'm Cornish boy, and we're all sort of pulling in the same direction in the band, and it's just about really having a pride in Cornwall and our background and where we come from, and wanting to celebrate our culture and our heritage. And that is a sort of a cornerstone of the music that we produce, really capturing that passion that I think is growing around Cornwall. There's lots of people wanting to celebrate their Cornish identity and their heritage, and the way we're expressing ourselves is through music and bringing people together through music. And that's what we're about, essentially.
Brilliant. Let's get into the big news then. This exciting new track with Brad Pauls. How does a collaboration like this come about?
Well, I'm a bit of an armchair boxing fan, and I always have been. I can remember, watching lots of different fights of different fighters across the years, and so I've always had an interest in boxing. And then came across Brad Pauls being a Cornish boxer, and just loved his sort of rise through the ranks, if you like, and obviously recently winning the British title. And I just thought it was an amazing story, and Brad Pauls always displays that Cornish pride with his the way that he works, everything that he says. I was really interested in his personal story, and boxing is not huge in Cornwall, or at least it definitely wasn't when he was growing up and learning to box. And I just think that his story is one of resilience, and it's a real sort of story that really captured my imagination, but I think lots of people's imagination in Cornwall. So that was how effectively I came across Brad Pauls. And then I wanted to sort of celebrate his achievements and celebrate his story of resilience. And so I got in touch with him and told him what I intended to do. And I was sort of struggling with some of the lyrics, really. I sort of felt I needed to know a little bit more about him. And so he gave up his time and spoke to me, and that informed the lyrics of the song as well, which was an interesting process.
Amazing. What kind of story then do the lyrics tell? I know we're going to be playing the track in a second, but for anyone, before we listen to it, what kind of story can we expect from the lyrics and the song itself?
Well, I think it goes back in time a little bit to his sort of growing up, and talks about how, as a kid, he told me he used to, he was always into being really physical, and then he sort of channeled it through probably fighting, essentially, and was getting in scraps and sort of playground tussles and things, and then sort of through family members managed to channel that into the boxing gym, and all that self-discipline that the sport teaches, and turned it into a really positive thing. So it goes back in time to part of his journey, and then sort of pulls it into the modern day, where he basically became British champion. And there's a clip within the song. There's a little bit of footage from that British title fight where he knocks Nathan Heaney out, and that appears in the song as well. So it's got that full sort of gamut, the history, the modern day, and fuses it all together, really.
What a moment that was, by the way. It felt when Heaney went down, it felt like all of Cornwall just shook. Everyone just got up on their feet, and it was, an incredible moment.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. No, it was, because he'd gone 12 rounds in the first fight, 12 rounds in the second fight, and, to do what he did, basically in the 24th round with nothing between the two fighters was nothing short of inspirational, and that, at that moment, I thought, I'm going to write a song about this achievement and this man. The first Cornish champion, British champion, is it since the 1930s?
Yeah, indeed. It's a long time, isn't it? 100 years people were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing.
Yeah, indeed. It's inspired a whole new generation of people, not just in Cornwall as well, but up and down the country and around the world too. He's had an incredible impact. But I want to know, he's obviously been involved creatively in this song, and he's supported with lyrics, but has he lent his voice to it at all? Are we in for a sort of a John Barnes World in Motion style rap or anything like that?
No, I don't. He's never lent any musical side of things, but there's a lot of input from him in terms of the lyrical content, but nothing on the musical side. I don't know if he can sing a note. I don't know if he played an instrument. We've not actually had that conversation, but no, the music is all ours.
Maybe there'll be a remix. We'll get him on that. We'll see what his inspiration is. Ben, for those that haven't seen you live, then what's a Ben Bowden gig like, and where can we see you over the next few months?
Well, it's a lot of energy, lot of passion. It's a real mixture of, we've got quite a heavy sort of rhythm section that keeps people moving. There tends to be a lot of people dancing and having a good time. But we're at the, if you want to come and see for yourself, we're playing at the Rattler Fest Saturday the 26th of April. That's at Healy's Cider Farm on the Saturday on the main stage. And then our next show after that is at the Get Folks Festival, which is at the Barn and Ells Bar in Truro. That's on Saturday the 3rd of May. So there's still tickets available for both of those, I believe. So yeah, come and see for yourself.
Brilliant. We're going to give this new track a spin in a minute, but to hear it back and other songs of yours too, is it going to be part of a EP or an album? Can people find you on streaming sites, that kind of thing?
So yeah, we're on all the all the streaming sites. This is going to be part of our debut album. We've basically got an album's worth, more than an album's worth of material, but we just need to finish recording some of it. So that will be out definitely this year. I mean, hopefully by the summer, but we'll have to see. So this is, we've got enough tracks. We've got an album coming out, but the release date, watch this space on that front.
Heard it here first. Watch this space. You've been making waves though, haven't you? You've got some great tunes like Take It Back, Spirit of Cornwall. You're clearly not slowing down. So it looks like you've got a big future for in 2025 and beyond too.
Well, do you know what? You know, I've always written music since I was about 12 years old, but actually it's coming, the writing process, I'm finding it more interesting, more inspiring. I'm being more creative than I've probably ever been. So on that front, for me, it's a really exciting time because, I'm being quite prolific in terms of writing. So yeah, it doesn't seem to be ending, which is great. So if the songs keep coming and people keep coming to the shows and people keep listening, then we'll keep going. So it's all there, looking like a good rest of 2025, hopefully.
Well, look, we look forward to hearing more from you in the future and maybe adding a few of those tracks into our system so we can start hearing you more regularly on Chaos. But before that, I want to just ask you to introduce this track with Brad Pauls. Tell us a little bit about what we're about to hear and, just take it away.
So what you're about to hear is a story of Cornish resilience and a champion boxer about to go from rags to riches. Without further ado, this song is by Ben Bowden and the Pards, and it's called Newquay Bomb.
Born and raised, this was the Cornish way. No backward step, but no spite. Too proud to fail or fall, just like a cannonball. At 10 years old, you should have seen him. Swap playground fights for boxing, and it saved his life. This man you can't explain, this man you can't contain. His wake will fill the streets of Kernow when he dies. All fear and doubt are gone. They call the Newquay Bomb. Locked in and headed straight toward the sky. He sensed it was his time to make his final climb. All in just praying for that night. No more fighting for free, this time it's legacy. And in his prime you should have seen him. He's knocking down the big man just to make it right. This man you can't explain, this man you can't contain. His wake will fill the streets of Kernow when he dies. All fear and doubt are gone, they call the Newquay Bomb. Locked in and headed straight toward the sky.
NEWSWAVE.
Thanks so much to Ben Bowden for joining us, and a happy belated birthday to the Newquay Bomb himself, Brad Pools too. Don't forget to follow Ben on Instagram at Ben Bowden and the Pards for all the latest gig information, tracks and behind the scenes action. And finally this week, back in October, author Tom Michel joined us live here in the Chaos Radio studio to discuss a moving story from his life when he rescued a penguin from an oil slick in Uruguay back in 1976. Tom's book, titled The Penguin Lessons, captured imaginations around the globe and has now been turned into a feature film starring Steve Coogan.
NEWSWAVE.
I was staying in a friend's flat in the middle of winter in Uruguay at a seaside resort, which was very quiet in those days, called Punta del Este. Now it's grown hugely, but in those days it was quite a quiet little place. And in the middle of winter, when I was staying in a friend's flat, it was practically dead. But I was on my way back from having been staying with friends in Paraguay, and I was making my way back through Brazil via the Iguazu Falls, which are simply gargantuan, astonishing sight. And on my last day, I decided to go for a walk along by the sea for no better reason than I had time to pass. And while I walked along the beach, I suddenly started seeing dead penguins covered in tar. And the further I walked, the more there were. And clearly there were thousands of dead penguins, which was a horrifying sight. It reminded me of the Torrey Canyon disaster, which had happened not so many years before, and I was a tacker at that time. But I had seen that seabirds could be cleaned if they weren't too badly damaged. All the penguins I could see were dead, of course. So I walked along the beach really to try and get some idea of how ghastly the disaster was. And then I saw one move, and I decided that I really ought to dispatch it because just to end its suffering. But as I approached it, it stood up and looked at me fairly aggressively. And I thought, oh, well, perhaps I can clean it. After a bit of a fight, I managed to pick it up, took it back to the flat where I was staying, and after several hours with shampoo and detergents and so on, I cleaned it. And then decided that I was going to put it back in the sea, well away from the oil. So I took it down to the beach, put it by the sea, expecting it to swim away. Grateful to be away from this ogre who had picked it up and washed it with warm water. And it didn't swim away. So I wondered what I was going to do. So I picked it up and I walked out on some rocks which were along the beach and threw it into the water, thinking it would then swim off. And I ran back over the rocks to get to the beach. And before I'd got there, it had swum round in a circle and was coming out of the water again and looking at me, saying, as though to say, what are you doing? You've just washed out all my waterproofing. I can't cope with this water. Now you've done that. I tried again, and it wouldn't leave. And I thought, well, I'll just leave it on the beach. If I walk quickly up the rocks around the beach, there was a small wall, 3 or 4 feet high. I thought if I hop up there, it won't be able to follow me. Not realizing just how amazingly dexterous penguin feet are, and I found it was following me. I wondered what on earth I was going to do. Picked it up, took it back to the flat, put it in the bath while I thought about it. Then I went out to dinner, and during dinner I decided that I could smuggle it back into Argentina. I was a bit apprehensive about doing that because we'd just had a military coup, and the Iron Fist and the jackboot had come crashing down on Argentina, and people were very much minding their P's and Q's, and as a foreigner I was just keeping well out. It was a pretty grim time before the coup. Terrorists were murdering and killing people, several people a day. And lists were being published of those people who'd been killed the previous days. And eventually the military took over. Actually, things got worse. The number of people who then got seized and dragged off the streets by the army and by the secret police made the times very, very unpleasant. Anyway, I took the penguin, managed to get it back into Argentina, took it back to the school where I was teaching. Penguins can't be house-trained, but luckily, outside my flat, I had an open-air terrace of about, 10 metres square, and I was on the 3rd floor, and the penguin lived on this terrace. And, of course, the boys and the other staff became enchanted, as I had been, by the behaviour and antics of this penguin, which showed no sign of fear of people at all. And so it lived with me, and I fed it on sprats, which I got from the market, and the kids also got the sprats for me. So actually, it wasn't a lot of hard work for me, because the privilege of feeding the penguin required that they cleaned up after him too. And there we lived happily ever after.
NEWSWAVE.
A big thank you again to Tom for joining us here at Chaos. If you enjoyed hearing an insight into Tom's story, you can check out the new Penguin Lessons film, which was released in UK cinemas on the 18th of April. Okay, that's all we've got time for on this week's edition of NEWSWAVE. A big Chaos Radio thank you to Kylie Williams and the Kernow Community Gateway team, to the new High Sheriff of Cornwall, Geraint Richards, to Ben Varnell of False Peacock, Ben Bowden of Ben Bowden and the Pards, and to Tom Michelle, author of the Penguin Lessons. And as ever, a final thank you to you for listening and helping support local journalism to thrive. To catch up on all our coverage, as well as to check out our extensive back catalogue of interviews and shows, head on over to chaos.radio. And remember, if you have a local news story that you'd like to share with us, email news@chaos.radio or search Chaos Radio UK across socials. That's it, you're up to date here on Chaos. I'm Tom Howe. Thank you very much for listening.
NEWSWAVE.
Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.